So if you're just joining, just make sure that you have blankets or bath towels nearby, a pillow, a chair or something. I'll give you lots of options once we get there. And if you have one, a yoga strap or a TheraBand, or even like a sweatshirt will work, or a rolled up blanket or bath towel. Again, I'll kind of show you what we're using them for as we go, but it's just nice to have all of them or the options around you before we get started. And so come to find a comfortable seat, whatever that means to you. I like to have something underneath my hips because it just feels better on my low back, but you get to determine what that feels for you. And once you kind of settle into your seat, maybe close your eyes or have a soft gaze out in front of you. And then just take a moment to maybe rock side to side, forward and back to kind of move the weight in your pelvis. And then eventually find a place that feels pretty stable and as even as it can. And then from here, start to root down through your sits bones. And then as you root down through your pelvis, begin to reach up through the crown of the head, stretching the space between the vertebrae. And then maybe roll the shoulders up towards your ears and then down your back to soften the shoulder blades down the back as well as broaden through the collarbones. Pull in on your low belly, lift up through your heart. And then bring the tip of your tongue to the back of your teeth and release your bottom jaw. And then continue to keep your body in your awareness as we take 3 rounds of breath together. So inhale through your nose. And then when you're ready to exhale, you can either breathe out through your nose or through your mouth. You get to choose. Inhale through your nose. And then once again, an exhale of your choice, knowing that there's no right or wrong answer, just what you need in the moment. And then last time, a slow, conscious inhale through the nose. And then a release of your exhale that is just as conscious and intentional. Then start to bring your hands to your heart as I invite all of you to bow your head towards your heart center to acknowledge an intention for your practice. It could be a word, a phrase, a relationship, or a cause that you can spend the time now to dedicate and put your whole heart into in this moment. And we'll all take a round of breath together to seal this intention. So inhale through your nose into that intention. And then an exhale either through your nose or through your mouth to release it out into the world. Then you can slowly start to release your hands and open your eyes. All right, well, welcome back. So for those of you who don't know me, because I see some new faces, which is very exciting. My name is Heather Freeman, and I am the program manager of YogaX, which is a yoga training and education program. So we do classes as well as trainings, and we're about to start a new online 200-hour teacher training. So please feel free to reach out if you're interested in that. I'll put my email in the chat at the end. And something that I've been working with in my practice that I talked about last week is in yoga, there's attitudes to cultivate as well as ways to be in the world, in our relationships, as well as with the relationship with yourself And one of the key components of being in relationship with yourself, I also think of this as like a self-care practice that yoga outlines, is this attitude and practice of contentment. And what I love about contentment is happiness that is not dependent on something outside of yourself. It is really this practice of not necessarily approval, but it is a working towards acceptance and learning to be with things. Because as we know, the life tends to flow in all sorts of different ways, and the plans that we set out don't necessarily all come to fruition, or sometimes we don't get what we want, or sometimes we do get what we want and it doesn't see the satisfaction doesn't seem to last. I don't know if you have this where I buy a new pair of shoes and I'm so excited about these shoes and I wear them for a little bit and then I'm like, oh, I kind of want new shoes. Right. And so yoga is teaching us to have our sense of happiness come from like the metaphorical shoes inside rather than the new shoes that you buy outside. Maybe that was a jump, but here we are. So with that, we're going to work with a lot more quiet postures and do a more restorative and yin practice to really quiet our bodies to be with what is internally, as well as be with how our body just shows up organically in these shapes. So how you will start is lying down on the ground. And so you can either lie down with your legs out in front of you or your knees bent if your low back is not feeling it right now. And then just take a moment to kind of settle the back body onto the ground. I'm making a lot of little adjustments, so maybe you want to start doing that so you can feel like you're being really intentional about how your body is making contact with the ground underneath you. And then notice as you begin to lie here if there's any places that your body is gripping, or if there feels like there's anything that your body is holding in this moment. Whether you feel like you're holding back from the ground fully holding you in this moment. And see if you can release there. And then from here, continue to keep your body in your awareness. And then begin to shift your attention to how your body is in relationship with your breath. Particularly notice how the body receives each inhale. Maybe noticing how the torso expands, as well as notice how the body releases each exhale. To release the breath out. And just give yourself this moment to watch your breath flow in and out of you without trying too hard to do too much to it. Without adding strain to the breath, can you simply just watch it as best you can? It's always funny to use the word simply because actually watching the breath is a pretty complicated task, especially to watch it just as it flows in and out without you kind of directing where it goes or how it flows. Using this moment to watch your body's intelligence and how the body continues to breathe, to work with you, and that it's already in your wiring. It's here for you to appreciate and witness that this comes from within. And when you're ready, if your knees are bent, start to straighten your legs out now. And then you'll extend your arms up overhead. So framing your biceps right by your ears. If it feels like that's too much for you, you can always bring a rolled up blanket or a towel or a pillow underneath your arms to support you here. So stretching your body long, maybe pressing out through your heels and through your fingertips to really grow long here. And then on your next exhale, cross the right foot over your left, and then grab your right wrist with your left hand. And we'll first inhale to stretch the body really long, or as long as it'll go. And then your exhale to start to C curve over to the left, creating space between on the right side of the body, particularly on the top of the right pelvis, as well as the bottom of the right shoulder blade. Stretching the muscle underneath the rib cage. So letting your breath be soft here and as natural as possible. That you're here to witness the breath and its organic magic rather than having to do anything to it. And then we'll inhale, so uncross the legs, release the hand, maybe stretch it out once more. And then exhale to cross the left foot over the right, and then use the right hand to clasp the left wrist. And then inhale to stretch out, grow long, and then exhale to C curve over to the right side. Again, stretch or creating a bit of pull sensation from the left side of the body. But nothing like too intense or nothing where it feels forced, right? Contentment is an attitude of not forcing anything or putting yourself through strain. It's moving with what is and then letting yourself rest there. So how can you bring that into this shape? Of letting your body be just as is. And then we'll inhale to release the cross of the feet, extend the fingertips up towards the ceiling. And then an exhale, start to bend your knees, place your feet on the floor. And then stretch up through your fingertips, and then exhale. We'll start to curl the knees in towards the chest and then bring the nose towards the knees. Maybe you bring the hands around the thighs or the shins to curl in. And then inhale to release the feet down, stretch the arms up. And then exhale to curl in. We'll do this a couple of more times. You can even start to extend the legs fully in front of you if that feels good. We're just moving through these couple of shapes to engage the abdominal muscles as well as starting to link breath with movement. And then last time, inhale, grow long. Extend your heels out in front of you. And then release your hands down by your side. So now, have your legs about like hips width distance apart. And then we'll turn the right toes over to the right. And then drag the heel on the floor as you draw the knee up and out to the side, kind of drawing it into a tree pose. It's a tree pose. And then exhale to press the heel out. So you're staying in this bent knee shape. And then inhale to lift up to tree pose. And then exhale to press the heel away from the body towards the opposite foot. So we'll do this maybe a couple of more times, linking your breath with your movement, just bringing some movement into the pelvis and into the hips. And then last time, inhale to draw the heel up and then the right knee over to the right. And then you'll start to bring the knee up towards the ceiling and then over to the left side, enough that the right hip kind of lifts off of the floor. It doesn't have to lift up very much, it's just like an inch. And then your exhale to press the heel away, straighten the leg, and then come back to the Shavasana shape or the corpse pose. And then starting to move through this, where you move the leg into tree pose, up and over, and then extend it out in front of you. So flow through this, following your own breath pattern and being very intentional about kind of how you're moving the leg. And then the last time, once your knee is kind of bent over to the side and up, you'll start drawing it over to the right and then continue to have it go over to the right. And then let your knee find a prop or the floor or something that to rest on. So this is where that pillow or blanket comes in handy. That's convenient. My hallway is shaped like that. And just kind of let your body twist that way. If it feels okay, you can start to let the right shoulder twist away. But again, not going to a place of like forcing it. It doesn't really, there's nothing magical that happens if it touches the ground. That the point of this practice, right, is to kind of let the body go where it wants to. If your arm is kind of, you can either keep twisting towards this left side, or you can start to like maybe circle the arm one direction or the other if you want a little bit of movement here. Again, you get to also make these shapes yours. Right, a big part of how I like to teach contentment, as well as how I like to teach yoga, is I'm here as a guide and provide you options of what to do with your body, but the real wisdom comes from within. So it comes from you making the choice for you. And then practicing being content with your choice, or inviting the possibility of feeling content with whatever you've chosen. And then we'll take maybe 3 to 5 full rounds of breath here. 3 to 5 rounds of your natural breath that you can watch here. And when you're ready, we'll inhale and then start to bring the right knee in towards the chest. And then hug the knee over towards the right side. So you first hug it in towards the chest and then over to the right. So you're compressing the right side of the body as well as the organs that exist on that side. And letting your breath be soft here. And then from here, so you can either stay in this shape if this feels good for you, or you can start to extend the right foot up towards the ceiling, and then grab the ankle or grab the outside of the right foot with the right hand. Or if you have that strap or strap-like thing, you bring it around the ball of the foot. But you'll be pressing the inner top right thigh into the belly of the right side of the torso, while keeping the left leg really long and the toes active and the heel pointed away from you. You can even bring the left hand towards the left hip to press that down into the ground as you breathe here. And then we'll take maybe 3 more rounds of breath here. And slowly start to release the right foot from your hand or from the strap. Bring it back into the chest once more, maybe rocking side to side. And then we'll switch sides. So extend the right leg out in front of you. And just giving yourself a moment to rest on your back. Again, letting your body really make contact with the ground underneath you in whatever way invites this attitude of knowing you have all of the support that you need. Or inviting the possibility of feeling supported here. All right. Now from here, we'll turn the left toes over to the left. Start to bend the left knee and then start to bring the left leg into a tree pose-like shape on the ground. And then exhale to extend the leg out in front of you. Inhale to tree pose. Exhale to extend. So maybe doing this about like 3 to 4 more times. You get to kind of decide how much or how little you like. Just moving the femur and the hip socket. Linking the movement with your natural breath. And then when you're ready on the last one, once your leg is in the tree pose shape, you'll start to draw the knee up towards the ceiling, bringing the foot to a full footprint on the floor, and then draw the left knee over to the right so that you can almost like the left hip goes up like an inch or 2. Then you'll start to press the heel away, extend the leg out in front of you, come back to center. All right, we'll do this a couple more times. So externally rotate the toes. Inhale to bring the leg up to tree pose. Cross the leg over the body and then exhale to extend the leg out in front. So flow through these again in a way that it doesn't feel hurried, right? That there's nothing actually to get to. We're just like moving through these movements, that there's no one big shape. Maybe there's a little bit of stops along the way, but for the most part, we're just kind of flowing with how the body is moving. Unless you have a very sticky mat like me and it's hard to extend my leg fully out. But again, what an amazing practice of contentment for me. And then the next time your leg is lifted into that tree pose shape, you'll start to bring it up towards the ceiling and then start to cross it over the body and then let it fully find a bolster, a blanket, or the floor, and then just turn onto the right side. Then you can decide here if you'd like to open the shoulders up. If the shoulders don't touch the ground, know that that's okay. You can always put props underneath if that feels like something that you'd like. You want the heart to be open here. as well as knowing that there's nothing special that happens if the body holds space like that. Again, we're practicing these shapes and being with ourselves in this experience in a way of not necessarily needing to get anything from our bodies or forcing our body to be a particular way or to hold these shapes like perfectly. One of my favorite phrases is, the yoga poses are here to fit your body. You're not here to fit the poses. And so how does that manifest in your body, and how would the shape change if that was the mantra you were using? And once you've kind of found a place of stillness, returning back to your natural breath as your anchor into the present moment. As well as keeping the mind in relationship to the body and the body in relationship with the mind. And when you're ready, we'll inhale and start to hug the knee in towards the chest. And then draw the knee over towards the left armpit. So the femur is moving in the hip socket. And you're just hugging the knee in. Keep the right leg extended as best you can. Letting your back body be soft here. As well as continuing to keep your natural breath as your focal point. And then from here, start to bring the left foot up towards the ceiling, and then your options are to grab the heel, or the ankle, excuse me, the ankle, the outer foot, or use that strap-like object to bring the knee over towards the opposite side while keeping the heel extended up towards the ceiling. And then if it helps you feel more grounded, you can bring the right hand down to the right hip to press on the right side of the pelvis. Again, continuing to let your breath be soft here. And regardless of where you're holding the ankle, right, can you just let the body show up just as is? Because oftentimes if you start to watch the body, you know that it changes. Maybe it starts to open up a little bit more, get a little bit more able to do the bigger things if you let it go at its own pace. Like, our practice with contentment is oftentimes we want things to happen faster or in the way that we want them, rather than letting them kind of unfold just as is. And then start to release the foot from the strap or your hand. Hug the knee in towards the chest and maybe rock side to side. And then you can bring your nose towards your knee. And then bring both knees in towards your chest. Rocking side to side. All right. Then release your feet onto the floor. And this is where, if you have a chair, have the chair kind of where your feet are at. We're going to be using it It's kind of like a thing to press our feet up against, but we won't need it for the time being. Just have it ready for you. And then you'll come into, again, the pose where your feet are on the ground and your knees are extended up towards the ceiling. And then bring your palms face down by your hips. And then start to press into your tailbone and then arch the spine to like lift the belly up. And then exhale, press into your heels and then press the lumbar into the ground. And then start to move through these two shapes. Exhaling, pressing into the ground as you with the low back and the heels, and then inhaling to arch the spine up. So just moving the pelvis a little bit, up and down. And then the next time you press into your heels, then start to lift the hips up towards the ceiling. Press into the palms as you engage the back body, and then feel as if the fronts of the thighs are pushing towards the knees. And then your abdomen, you're pulling in your abdomen as you lift the pelvis, but then keep pulling in the bottom ribs. And then your exhale, slowly, vertebra by vertebra, lower your spine onto the ground to lower your pelvis. And then inhale, we'll start to lift back up, bridge pose. Again, feeling this kind of energy where the thighs are pushing towards the knees. But then you can imagine that the hamstrings are pulling up towards your glutes. And then exhale to lower the hips. And then inhale to lift up a bridge pose, pressing into the heels, pushing away from the tops of the thighs towards the knees. And then continue to breathe here and use your natural breath, right? Knowing that your breath kind of knows how to help you here. And so notice what your breath does. Does it become a little bit more strained? Does it become softer? Does it become bigger? Kind of noticing how your body and your breath work to help you to adapt to this shape without having you have to do anything about it. And then exhale to lower the hips, releasing back down to the ground. All right. So now you'll bring your right foot on top of the left knee. Okay. And then your inhale, you'll start to lift your pelvis up, coming into that bridge shape, but only with one foot. And then exhale to lower the hips down. We'll do this 2 more times. So inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. And then last time, inhale to lift, and then commit to 3 rounds of breath here. Again, feeling the engagement of the quadriceps as well as the engagement of the back body. As you notice what's happening with your breath here. Learning to be with what is. Knowing that it won't last forever. And then when you're ready to exhale, you can slowly release. Whew. All right, opposite side. So left foot comes on top of the right thigh. And then we'll inhale to lift the hips up. And then exhale to lower. 2 more times, inhale to lift. And then exhale to lower. And then last time, inhale to lift, and then hold here. But just have the holding be in your body, right? Letting the breath kind of flow as it wants to, and letting yourself kind of watch that as best you can. And kind of noticing if there's any reactions to holding this or me talking through this. And see where contentment can fit. And then exhale to release your hips down, undo the legs. Whew. And then maybe walk your feet out and then windshield wiper your legs. All right. So next shape. So you'll keep your chair, and if you don't have a chair, you can use the side of the couch. That'll work just fine. And so what we're going to do is a figure 4 shape. So you get to determine how close the chair is. The reason that we're using the chair is sometimes with figure 4, we use the hands. And so I really want you to feel really grounded here and like not have to do a lot of work in the upper body and really focus on the legs and the hips. So you'll bring both feet on the chair or the edge of a couch, and you can determine how close you'd like to be. If you feel like this doesn't feel like your body's straining, or you're unhappy in this shape, you can move closer. And then we'll extend the right leg up towards the ceiling and then turn the toes out like we did in the beginning. Open the back of the knee, and then start to bring the the outside of the right ankle to the left knee or left thigh, and then flex the right toes. And then you'll start to resist the right leg and the right inner thigh away from your torso as you keep releasing your torso down to the ground. Breathing here. And you might find, right, if this feels like it's too much, you can always move back or you can move closer. And a good way to determine if it feels like too much is if the breath feels forced. Right, one of the ways that we can kind of cue into like getting ourselves closer to feeling contentment is if the breath doesn't feel forced. Right, that we could just kind of rest here. But we also want to feel at least, or have this experience be a little bit interesting so we don't get bored. But even if you do get bored, what a wonderful practice of contentment, right? Letting your breath be your focal point as you continue to hold the shape. And when you're ready, start to release the foot from the chair so that you're in this figure 4 shape, but your foot's on the ground. And then you'll inhale here, and then exhale, your right foot is going to move over to the left to plant either on a prop or on the floor. And then you'll extend or like move the right thigh away from you. So it's the right inner thigh is pushing away. You see that? And only going so far that feels like, you know, there's a bit of tension, right? There's some sensation of pulling, but not to the point where your breath feels strained or your body feels strained. Something that you feel like you can hold for a couple of minutes. And then if you'd like to kind of add something with the arms, you can extend the arms up towards the top of your mat and do what we did in the beginning, where you clasp the right wrist with your left hand, and then side bend over to the left. So that we're creating a C curve in the body that goes from the inner thigh all the way up towards the right fingertips. And letting your body show up just as it does, and moving from that place. All right, also another consideration of contentment is having a sense of gratitude or appreciation for what you already have. Right, that you're in this body, that billions of cells care that you exist, and your breath that keeps you moving and in a relationship with the outside world. And then when you're ready, we'll start to release the hand clasp, and then start to draw the knees up towards the ceiling. And then maybe start to extend the right leg up towards the ceiling and roll the ankle around if you like, or you can just start to release it down to the floor. All right, and then we'll switch to the other side. So bring the left foot up onto the edge of the chair, and then you'll hug the right knee in towards the chest and then extend. Nope, that's the opposite leg, sorry. So we'll do the opposite, where you extend the left leg up towards the ceiling and then turn the left toes over to the left. Open the back of the knee and then bring the left ankle towards the top of the right thigh, and then start to resist the left thigh, inner thigh away from you as you kind of soften into the back body and release as much as you can onto the ground. And then again, just kind of, sometimes in yoga, we like strive for sensation or for like the biggest feeling, or sometimes we strive for the opposite, where we don't want to feel anything. And even the slightest discomfort can dysregulate us. And so kind of noticing if there's a striving that's happening, or like an attachment, or if the opposite is happening, if there's like an aversion to something unpleasant or something uncomfortable. And contentment is that nice little thing in the middle, that there's a sutra that says the yogi is no longer pulled by opposites, so that you're no longer pulled by striving or from aversion, that you get to sit in the middle, which is contentment. And so creating the context within the shape to sit in the middle, to no longer feel like you're being pulled by opposites as best you can. Knowing that it's totally normal to move from wanting to diswanting or unwanting. That our brains aren't necessarily wired to contentment. But we can practice and cultivate it so that it knows what it is and what it feels like. And then when you're ready, we'll start to release the right foot from the chair or the surface that your leg is on. And then start to bring the left foot over to the right. So you can bring it on a prop or directly onto the floor. And then resist the inner left thigh away from the body. You can even use the right hand to like gently coax the leg away. Again, not in a place where you're forcing it or pushing it. And then if you like the arm variation, you can start to clasp the left wrist with the right hand and then C curve over to the right. Once again, kind of tune into the breath of your body breathing you. Where you are practicing being a witness to the abundance that you already have. Your body's intelligence of knowing exactly how to breathe, how much oxygen to take in, as well as how much carbon dioxide to release out. What an amazing thing. You have an opportunity to sit in appreciation for all that your body does for you. All that your breath does for you. Without you having to do anything about it. And then when you're ready, release the clasp of your hands and then draw your knees up. And then we'll bring both of the feet towards the chair. And actually, if you can bring the chair closer to you or move your torso closer to the chair, you have a couple of options here. This is number one, where you just place your shins on the base of the chair and you, or couch, whatever you got, and you just rest like so. What you can also do, especially if you have like a holes like this, you can hook your feet to the outside and then let your knees hang out like so. This is my favorite thing to do. If you don't have that, but you like that shape, you can bring your feet together at the edge of whatever you got, like your couch or bed, and just release the knees out to the side. And do whatever you need to make sure that the shape is comfortable. So if you need a blanket underneath the heels, if you need something underneath your hips, again, do what you need to feel supported here. Or to give yourself this opportunity to like play around with what it would be like to support yourself fully in this shape. With whatever you've got on hand. And then letting yourself soften where you can. And settle into your natural breath. Really being the witness to each breath as if you're breathing for the first time. And then wherever you are, come back to your breath. And then slowly start to transition by hugging the knees in towards the chest. And releasing out into a Shavasana shape. So extending your legs out in front. Releasing your hands down by your sides, palm facing up. To once again transition into this pose where you are able to make the most contact with the ground underneath you as you can. Closing the eyes here if that feels okay for you. And release your attention from the breath to let yourself just experience being in this final resting pose. To witness the culmination of your practice as we rest together in the final moments of class in silence and stillness. Begin to invite a deeper breath into your body and into your experience. And then when you're ready, slowly inviting movement back into your body in a way that feels intuitive. And then going at your own pace, using the next 30 seconds or so, making your way to find a comfortable seat, whatever that means to you. And then you can place palms face down on your thighs or hands together in front of your heart. As I invite everyone to bow your head towards the wisdom that resides within your heart center. To acknowledge that our practice of contentment is for us to look inward and see what's already there. rather than needing anything from outside of us for our happiness. Because our happiness or our sense of joy is for us to uncover in the well that is your heart. Thank you so much for practicing with me today and for spending some time on your mat, cultivating being with what is in these unprecedented times. A big, deep bow of gratitude to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very